What happened with Caitlin Clark last night?
What didn't happen with Caitlin Clark? She broke the NCAA record for fastest women's basketball player to 3,000 points. She did it in, I believe, 100 games, 110 games. This was against Iowa State. It was at Iowa State. Hilton's a very tough place to play. It's sold out, as do most of the games that the Iowa women's basketball team is on the road. She's just got this marvelous effect to her. I believe she's the only player in history with over 3,000 points, 750 assists. There's a whole bunch of stats that I feel like they're making up new stats for her every day because she's breaking records left and right. And honestly, not her best game. Not her best game.
Didn't they score 65, but she had 37 of them?
She does that all the time. She does that all the time.
Is she projected to be a great in the WNBA?
Yeah, so she's the projected #1 overall pick. I'm really hopeful that the NIL money is good enough that she stays another year at Iowa, which she can. That would be the best thing that's ever happened to me. But she's said she's playing this last season as if it were her last. But that doesn't sound like an official yes to me.
Well, let me ask you this, right? Because Becky Hammond she just said to me, why does everyone assume I want to coach in the NBA? Why are you making that assumption? If the NIL money is going to change, and if women now in sports are realizing, wait a minute, holy shit, this is an economy, and we got a bigger number than the World Series. This is a star on par with all the other stars who happens to, we talk a lot about Caleb Williams. What about this one, though? Can NIL and Iowa say to Caitlin Clark, you know how much we value you? No. You'll make a lot more here as the economy for this giant thing, a lot more. You will make not a little more, a lot more than you will in the NBA. Why couldn't that be something?
In the W.
No, that is a thing. Angel Reese has already come out and said that she's like, I'm not in any rush to get to the W. I'm making more money in college, and it's not a very high bar to reach. I don't think it's unfathomable at all that Iowa's NIL could make up that WNBA salary. I mean, even if you watched the game last night, when it wasn't on Caitlin, it was on the State Farm commercials with Caitlin in it. She's making so much money, and I'm so happy for her, and she deserves every single penny.
I do think that this argument, though, happens and people forget that, a lot of the big stars in the WNBA also have huge endorsement deals, whether it's with Nike or other huge brands. So it's not like you can't make NIL deals once you're out of college. I see college players' NIL deals get compared to WNBA salaries, which are lower than you would hope for that league, but something that I think will probably change after their next television deal. But the stars playing in the WNBA still are making endorsement deals and still are doing commercials. I think there is a legitimate argument to be made about the economy around promoting women's college basketball versus the WNBA. And I think in the last year or so, women's college basketball has gotten more of a excitement around it and more eyeballs on it. Not saying the W hasn't, but I think the WNBA could improve there. So it's not like you can make a one-for-one comparison. There are WNBA stars. We don't know how much money they're making, but they're making a lot of money doing commercials for things.
I picked up on women's college basketball fairly recently, and I am not at all interested in making the jump to the WNBA. I don't know if that's because I don't have a local team, but I just favor the college game right now as I make room and feigned with to experience all these things. I quite enjoy women's college basketball, and to me it feels like a much bigger deal, and I don't know why the marketing is so much better as I feel as just a casual observer on these things. It feels...
Well, the energy is crazy.
The energy is great around... I guess the WNBA that I've seen, and I've seen some good crowds and some good stories, but every time that I have given the WNBA a chance, the environments seem a little antiseptic, and with women's college basketball, when I've watched, it seems like a really interesting crowd that's super into the game, and it's just more of a fun watch for me.
I think maybe there's something for people who already have a college allegiance, being able to easily hop on a bandwagon of a team that maybe they went to school there or they're a fan of that team, and maybe if you haven't been watching the WNBA, you find it harder to figure out who to root for and stuff. But the WNBA is doing very well in terms of crowd engagement. The Liberty has one of the best arena environments in the WNBA, and they made a really deep playoff run. They played in the championship this year and had tens of thousands of fans there, and it's known for its atmosphere. So I don't think you can say blanket that college basketball is doing. I don't even think that there's much value in pitting them against one another either. My point is just that if you're talking about an athlete staying an extra year in women's basketball versus going to the WNBA, and maybe their salary is not as high as you would hope. Like you're seeing that in college football too. You're seeing that with players like in later round draft picks that are going to stay in NCAA football instead of going to the NFL and being maybe like a low earner compared to a first rounder where you could make 7 figures just staying in college football.
I think the big thing isn't even like, oh, are they going to get a brand deal? It's, can these university collectives match that salary? Because Caitlin's going to have brand deals wherever she goes. She's the most recognizable face in all of college sports, I believe, at this point. So she'll always have that State Farm money. I think it's about, is the University of Iowa collective willing to make up enough difference with the WNBA salary compared to what she could get from them. It's also a weird thing where like Caitlin's in a very weird position where she's not a normal college student and you don't really know if she's enjoying that experience. It's awesome to see this grow at any level just because we've seen so much of a rise in women's college basketball that I think it's going to translate to the WNBA where you feel like for the first time fans are getting to know Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers. They'll eventually have to go to the W and the fans will follow with. I know I will follow Caitlin till the end of the earth.
I think it is the branding because I've also noticed that I don't really follow the NWSL, but I do follow the Super League abroad. And what those clubs have that the NWSL doesn't is they're part of these clubs that have had men's teams in some cases for over 100 years. I watch Chelsea Women's Club because I'm a fan of Chelsea and I lean into that branding. And when you watch the Champions League, you see Real Madrid, who just bought another club and just provided they had the infrastructure. They didn't have to build it. They could just microwave a women's team. So I do think the branding with women's college basketball versus the WNBA is an important factor.
A lot of people bring us documentaries at Meadowlark, whether it's Martina Navratilova or Diana Taurasi, or the things that have to happen or had to happen through the 70s when you didn't have any women doing any of this. Does Caitlin Clark understand the size of the power she presently has and leverage, given that we're headed to the TV contracts and given that everyone realizes that the viewership there are oil wells around women's basketball that has a fervor that makes Caitlin Clark a very valuable college commodity? She can make her own economy right now that is giant, however she wants to do it to her specifications, because she's that kind of star.
She's already doing that. I mean, the brand deal she has, she's partnered with Nike, she's with State Farm, she's with Bose. Like, she's built this entire economy and then actually just kind of poured it into the Iowa women's basketball team in the sense that, like, you see a crazy jump whenever Iowa is in town because people want to see Caitlin Clark. And I think she's brilliant. I think she's perfect. I don't think she's ever made a mistake ever. And if she leaves Iowa early, I will commit a crime.
So she's not just a girl.
She is not just a girl.